Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with TB Fork, and this is day 18 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be beef liver, and today is a legs and abs training routine. And the theme for today's workout is CRAC PNF stretching. So right now, I'm going to be demonstrating how to perform CRAC PNF stretching. Now let's get started. And while we were resting, let's continue with our crack PNF demonstration. And this time we are going to be targeting the lateral fibers of the hip. Lateral fibers meaning we are going to be stretching the abductors. Whenever we stretch the abductors, we are going to be taking them into a deduction, adduction. And with regard to this, there are a couple different options. One option is you could use your non-dominant hand just to take them into flexion. And then with the hand that you're going to be using as your mobilizing hand, you could go underneath the tibia and fibula, and then you could go ahead and bring them across the table. And then just instruct them, I want you to inhale, and you are going to push your ankle into my hand. And they would actively go into a deduction by pushing into you. And then on the exhale, I want you to try and bring your leg toward the midline. And they would actively go into a deduction. And then as an added bonus, if you want, you could just guide them a little bit and give them a little bit of assistance. That is the first method. My preferred method is to use my hip. So what I will do is when I'm performing this on a patient, and this is really good if you have a rather large patient, it's going to be a lot more comfortable, is I will take their foot and I will place the Achilles on my opposite trap. And then with the leg that I'm stretching, I will anchor their lateral malleolus of the ankle to my greater trochanter, and I will guide them across the table. This is going to be great because by flexing the hip to this extent, it's going to stabilize the pelvis a lot more. But same thing, I would instruct the patient, I want you to inhale, push your foot into my hip. They would inhale and push, and then exhale, and I want you to guide your leg in toward the inside. And they would actively go into a deduction. And then as a bonus, you could just guide them a little bit more and assist them into further adduction. Now, with regard to this one right over here, what exactly are we stretching? Well, we're focusing on the lateral fibers of the hip. So primarily that's going to be the gluteus medius, the intermediate fibers of the gluteus medius, as well as the intermediate fibers of the gluteus minimus. We're also going to be stretching the tensor fasciae lati muscle, or the TFL, and we are going to be getting a little bit of involvement from the sartorius, the piriformis, but it's going to be minimal with regard to the piriformis. And we are going to be getting the obturator internus. For the obturator internus, we're going to be targeting the superficial fibers. Then the next stretch, what we want to do is we are going to be targeting the posterolateral fibers of the hip. So for this one, I'm going to be doing it on Johnny's left leg, but normally you would do everything on the same side before you switch legs. But for this one right over here, what we would want to do to target the posterolateral fibers is we want to take the knee toward the opposite shoulder. So the hand position that I like for this one is I like to place the foot on my iliac crest, and then I like to go with an overhand, and I will place my forearm over the fibula and over the femur, and then I will lift, lean, and take them in toward that rotation. So I want them to go again, knee to opposite hip. I want you to inhale, push your leg into me, and then they will inhale, contract the muscle, and now exhale, try and bring your knee toward your opposite shoulder, and they will actively try and go into more flexion and a deduction. And then again, you can just add a little bit of assistance. Other hand position, you could place the hand instead if you want. If you feel more comfortable, you could even square yourself up to the client, have one hand on the lateral condyle of the femur, one hand on the calcaneus, but same thing. You would lift, lean over, instruct the patient to push the lateral condyle or push the knee into your hand, whatever cue helps them get the job done. And then on the exhale, bring your knee toward your opposite shoulder, and they would actively try and bring it. And then if you want, you could add a little bit of assistance by gently assisting them and guiding them further into that range of motion. When we are focusing on the posterolateral fibers of the hip, primarily we are going to be stretching the gluteus maximus, the superior fibers of the gluteus maximus, and more specifically, the medial lateral fibers of the superior fibers of the gluteus maximus muscle. We're also going to be targeting the gluteus medius. Specifically, we're going to be hitting the posterior fibers in this position right over here. And to a lesser extent, we are going to be hitting the piriformis, the inferior fibers of the piriformis, and a little bit of the obturator internus and externus. But our rest period is up. Time for set number 5. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.